Hello everyone and welcome back to my Warhammer 40k guides. I am Brady and today I will be talking about units you should consider for every Imperium army part 2. First, before we get into the main content of this video, I'd like to talk about part 1 of this video to touch up on a few things since it's been a while since it was uploaded and lots of changes have happened since then. So Celestine and the Caluxus are still great additions to your Imperium list if you can afford to fit them in. But the Space Marine Librarian isn't so much anymore, not with the changes that have happened to the meta over the past few months. The main reason I said the Librarian was good in the first place was because the Demon Primarchs were so popular, and the Librarian has one of the best ways to deal with them when they get into your lines, or to scare them away from getting too close to your lines, which is the spell Null Zone. But now that the Primarchs aren't as popular anymore, taking a Space Marine Librarian just to counter them isn't that great of an option. Unless, of course, you're playing a Space Marine army, in which case he fits in pretty easily. I still think he's okay in an Imperium list, especially if you're going up against some Primarchs, or if you know you're going to be going up against some Primarchs. But nowadays, going into a tournament, I think it's going to be very rare that you see Primarchs anymore, at least on the top tables. So with that part out of the way, let's get into the main content of this video. And that's which other units, other than Celestine and the Caluxus, will go well into your Imperium list. Calidus Assassin. I used to not really like this unit, but she's grown on me over time. With a lot of armies in the meta that love spending a lot of command points in the first turn, the Calidus really helps shut that down. The main reason you bring her is because on turn 1 when your opponent spends a command point, the Calidus rolls a dice. On a 4+, your opponent spends an extra command point. This essentially means with some good rolls, you can screw over your opponent from getting off the combo that they normally get off on turn 1 that usually nets them a huge advantage. For example, Alpha Legion. It also might stop your opponent from even trying to spend any command point on turn 1 because they are scared to lose more than they need. This gives your army a whole turn to try and gain as much of an advantage as possible while your opponent tries to save their command points. And if the opponent does try to weather the storm, chances are they're going to be spending some extra CP if they want those combos to go off. She's also okay in combat and can be used in later turns to sit on objectives or just be a minor nuisance to your opponent, but you really want to just take her because of the command point ability. So if you can afford to bring a Calidus in your list, I would recommend doing so, because that ability is pretty strong against a lot of the meta armies today. Guardsmen. Guardsmen are some of the best and cheapest infantry you have access to in the army of the Imperium. In every competitive Imperium list I play, I will always take a battalion of Astra Militarum with my preferred regiment. And that battalion will have 2 commanders and 3 units of guard. You can give them a last cannon or mortar in each unit depending on what your list needs more in regards to either anti-infantry or anti-tank, and they can make a good screen for your more expensive units, or they can sit on objectives in the backfield since they are so cheap, and you're not really losing out on much by leaving them in the backfield where they can't reach anything. But that's where the last cannons and the mortars come into play, because they can reach really far, and you'll still do a little bit of damage while sitting on objectives. If you take them bare bones with just the last guns, like just for being a screen or sitting on objectives, they're only 40 points for 10 guys, which is extremely cheap. This battalion is also the cheapest way to get 3 command points for your army to spend. So sometimes it's good to take 2 battalions of guard built this way for 6 free command points, and then you use your 3rd detachment for your army for like Ultramarines or Blood Angels or any other Imperium detachment that you want. Inquisitor Greyfax. She's another unit that seems to do really well in Imperium armies, especially if you've opted to take a battalion of guard, since she synergizes extremely well with them. She gives her leadership to Imperium units within 6 inches of her, and her leadership is 10, which is pretty high. This really helps your guardsmen from getting scared and running away. And combined with a commissar, you can then re-roll that morale test if you fail it, making it harder than usual to get rid of your guardsmen. She's also a psyker as well, who gets +1 to denying from any range. She also has an ability that states she can target enemy characters that are psykers even if they aren't the closest model, and all of her weapons do more damage to psykers than they do to regular units, making her a pretty good anti-psyker psyker. So if you need some denies in your army, she gives you 2 denies at +1, which is always nice. She also has a spell where she can make any Imperium unit immune to morale. This is great on a conscript blob if you decide to use conscripts as a screen for your screen, or even big units of Space Marines or Primaris Marines if you decide to go that route as well. Overall, I think she's a good pickup for any Imperium list, especially if you take a battalion of guard, since she synergizes extremely well with them. That's not to say that you should only take her if you take guard, because she does synergize with other units in the Imperium army as well. So that's going to be it for this video. There are a few more units that I think are good pickups for Imperium armies, but I think I'm going to save those for a part 3 video. And also, I want to see some more games with those units before I decide to claim that they are great in every list. So for now, this is going to be it. So to recap the units, including the ones from the part 1 of this video, we have Celestine, the Caluxus Assassin, the Calidus Assassin, Guardsmen in an Astra Militarum Battalion with your regiment of choice, and Inquisitor Greyfax. So that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you are subscribed but would like to help support the channel even farther, you can do so on Patreon. The link is in the description. All pledges go towards making better content for the channel, which includes purchasing better equipment for battle reports, buying codexes for reviews, and going to large events to cover the event from the event itself. I haven't had a chance to do this yet, but I would love to, and would be able to make this possible with the help from you guys. With that said, thanks to all of my current patrons. Without you guys, I wouldn't have been able to progress the channel as much as it has, so thanks a lot to all of you guys. Your support really does mean a lot to me. Well anyways, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy wargaming.